let's flip over to the American, Smiley. I've read to you the automatic qualifiers.
Yeah.
Who you got for your 6 captain's picks?
Sam Burns is a no-brainer to me. He's, I think, definitely going to get a pick. He's an obvious pairing for Scotty Scheffler as well, being that they're good buds.
How about what he did in the playoffs to go from, I think it's 13 to 11 to 7 in those standings? Just like went from maybe outside looking into like, you cannot leave him off this team.
Yeah, he really did. He actually he finished 11 under this week. So if you started at even, finished T13 in that format. This is where I think this gets kind of confusing, and maybe I think if the U.S. team wasn't already decided, I think that the captains and Jim Furyk and the assistant captains are probably trying to sort through what they saw at the Tour Championship. And so when you look down this list, let's look at Tony Finau, who's 8th. Let's skip one past him at Russell Henley, who not at 9. To me, he just played his way onto the team. I think he solidified himself on the team at shot 17 under. I just think Russell is a super competitor, an ultra guy that's a team room player, guy you can pair up with anybody. Really solid. A player that's been inside the top 50 seems like forever. So Russell Henley and Sam Burns are my 2 locks, along with Keegan Bradley, who I think played his way on the team, winning at the BMW. Didn't necessarily have a good week this last week. We're just so admit that it's hard to play a week after you win. But so if we have Sam Burns, Russell Henley, and Keegan Bradley on the team, let's look at the rest of the options and like who played well, who didn't play well this week. And so Tony Finau, Chris Kirk, Akshay Bhatia, Billy Horschel. Let's just look at those names in particular. Chris Kirk shot 3 under total this week. Just a reminder, Colin Morikawa shot 22 under. Akshay Bhatia, 3 under this week. Keegan Bradley, 2 under this week. We already kind of mentioned that. We're omitting that. It's hard to play after a win. Billy Horschel, 5 under this week. And the other person who's near the standings, who we didn't mention, Tom Hoagie, he's not going to get picked most likely. He shot 3 over for the week. But let's stretch past that to the 15th person on the standings, and Justin Thomas. I think he benefited a lot with these guys playing poorly this week, and then himself having a really nice week, shooting 14 under. Not saying that this event is what gets you picked, but I think it was a really important week for Justin Thomas, while other guys are sitting at home like Max Homa and Brian Harman, who I would have put in a bucket in a category of 3 experienced players that you feel like are guys that you can go and put out against the international team's best. So Justin Thomas, with all the experience that he has had in these events, and I know last year, I think people are still frustrated by all the picks that Zach Johnson made. I still think when you look at Justin's season, it was very, very close to being a very good season. And when you just look at maybe the points are a little lower than you think they should be, he just didn't. It's just been the majors for him. Just hasn't had quite the major season that he's accustomed to having. So, but when you look at all the other events, I still am happy with Justin's resume, how well he's really been close to playing really well. And you get him in this format, he's able to turn off the brain a little bit and just get into international team mode. We've seen how well he's done in this format. So I think Justin gets a pick. I know it's a long-winded way of getting here, but Justin, Sam Burns, Russell Henley, Keegan Bradley. So we got 2 more picks left, and I think they're really difficult to make. I think these are really tough picks. I think Tony Finau is where I lean. I think his ball striking, his ability to be a fantastic iron player. I'm really concerned about his putting. I think that's an aspect that in these team competitions, you've got to be able to make putts. I'm a little worried about that, but I love the fact that Tony Finau in a best ball format, if you've ever played at home in best ball and you're playing it in a 2 versus 2, you always like to have guys that are closer than the other guys. And Tony Finau does that better than anybody. So I think Tony Finau gets a pick. And gosh, I think that Brian Harman gets the last pick. Although I could see a guy like Akshay Bhatia getting picked because of his ball striking. But if you're you're picking between Tony Finau and Akshay. Like, which ball striker do you want of those two? And I think you probably take Tony Finau. And then Brian Harman, to me, is a guy that I just think is a bulldog. We saw it at the Ryder Cup, and I want to see more of it.